Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's story. Your likes and subscriptions can give me hope to create better stories. And let me know what changes you'd like me to make to my voice. All right, now let's get to tonight's story. Chapter 1. The Gentle Awakening. The first sensation that reaches your consciousness is warmth. Not the harsh heat of summer sun, but the gentle, enveloping warmth of wool blankets woven with care by skilled hands. Your body feels different somehow, heavier yet stronger, as if you have been sleeping for a very long time and are just now returning to the world of the waking. Slowly, as consciousness seeps back into your mind like honey flowing from a jar, you become aware of sounds. But these are not the sounds you remember from before sleep claimed you. Instead of the hum of electricity or the distant rush of traffic, you hear the soft crackling of wood burning in a hearth, the gentle lowing of cattle in distant fields, and somewhere, the sweet, clear notes of a lark greeting the dawn. Your eyes flutter open, and the world that greets you is bathed in golden light, filtering through narrow windows set deep in stone walls. The light dances with tiny motes of dust, creating patterns that shift and shimmer like fairy magic. The ceiling above you is made of heavy wooden beams, dark with age, and carved with simple but elegant designs that speak of patient craftsmanship. As your vision clears, you notice that you are lying on a bed quite unlike any you have known. The mattress beneath you is firm, stuffed with sweet-smelling straw and feathers, and covered with linen sheets that feel rough but clean against your skin. The blankets that warm you are thick wool, dyed in deep blues and greens, with simple patterns woven throughout. You sit up slowly, and your body moves with a strength and grace that surprises you. Your arms and shoulders feel solid, muscled from years of training that you somehow remember without ever having lived. Your hands, when you lift them to examine them in the golden morning light, are calloused but clean, marked with the small scars that come from learning to handle sword and shield, from hours spent in the practice yard under the watchful eye of a master-at-arms. The room around you is simple but comfortable. The stone walls are hung with heavy tapestries that keep out the cold and add warmth to the space. One depicts a scene of knights riding through a forest, their horses' hooves making no sound on the woven ground. Another shows a great castle rising from green hills, its towers reaching toward a sky filled with stylized clouds and golden stars. A wooden chest sits at the foot of your bed, its surface worn smooth by countless hands. Its iron hinges and lock speak of the skill of the local blacksmith, and when you run your fingers along its edge, you can feel the careful joinery that holds it together. This chest, you know without knowing how, contains your most precious possessions. As you swing your legs over the side of the bed, your feet find soft leather slippers waiting on the stone floor. The stones themselves are worn smooth by generations of footsteps, and though they are cold, they hold no chill that can penetrate the warmth that seems to radiate from within your bones. Standing, you move to one of the narrow windows and look out upon a world that takes your breath away. Rolling green hills stretch to the horizon, dotted with oak and ash trees whose leaves dance gently in the morning breeze. Below, you can see the courtyard of what you somehow know is your home, a castle built of honey-colored stone that glows warm in the early light. The courtyard is already busy with the quiet activity of early morning. Servants move about their duties with the unhurried pace of people who know their work well. A young woman carries a wooden bucket toward the well, her simple dress of brown wool swaying with each step. Near the stables, a groom leads a magnificent destrier, a war horse whose coat shines like burnished copper in the sunlight. The air that flows through the window is clean and sweet, carrying the scent of wild flowers, fresh grass, and the faint smokiness of cooking fires. You breathe deeply, filling your lungs with this pure air, and feel a sense of peace settle over you like a comfortable cloak. From somewhere in the castle comes the sound of a bell, its bronze voice calling out across the morning with a note that seems to resonate in your very bones. This is the bell that calls the household to morning prayers, and though the sound is unfamiliar, your feet already know the path to the chapel. But for now, you simply stand at the window, watching the world wake up around you. A farmer leads his ox to the fields beyond the castle walls, following a path worn smooth by countless journeys. Children's laughter echoes from somewhere in the village that clusters around the base of the castle hill, their voices bright and clear in the morning air. As you watch, a hawk circles overhead, riding the warming air currents with effortless grace. Its cry is wild and free, a sound that speaks of vast skies and endless possibilities. The sight fills you with a sense of purpose, though what that purpose might be remains as mysterious as the dream that brought you here. You turn from the window and begin to dress, though the process is different from what you remember. Instead of simple clothes that slip on easily, you don the complex garments of a medieval knight. First comes a long linen shirt, soft and comfortable against your skin. Over this goes a tunic of fine wool, dyed a deep forest green, and embroidered at the collar and cuffs with silver thread that catches the light. Your legs are covered with close-fitting hose, and over these you pull on leather boots that lace up to your knees. The leather is supple and well-oiled, crafted by a master cobbler who took pride in his work. Each piece of clothing fits perfectly, as if made specifically for your body. A leather belt goes around your waist, its buckle wrought of silver and decorated with intricate knotwork. From this belt hangs a simple but elegant dagger in a leather sheath. The weapon is not for show, but for practical use, its blade kept sharp and ready. As you complete your dressing, you catch sight of yourself in a polished metal mirror that hangs on the wall. The face that looks back at you is familiar yet strange. It is your face, but changed, made noble by some transformation you do not understand. Your eyes hold a depth that speaks of honor and duty, and your bearing suggests years of training in the arts of war and peace. The morning light continues to strengthen, and with it comes a growing sense of anticipation. Today holds promise, though of what you cannot say. Perhaps there will be training in the practice yard, the satisfying ring of sword on shield echoing across the stones. Perhaps there will be a hunt in the green woods that surround the castle, following deer paths through dappled shade while hawks cry overhead. Or perhaps today will bring something entirely different, an adventure that will test your courage and honor in ways you cannot yet imagine. But whatever the day may bring, you feel ready for it. The strength in your body, the knowledge that seems to flow through your mind like water through a stream, and the deep sense of rightness that fills your heart all tell you that you are exactly where you are meant to be. A soft knock at your chamber door interrupts your thoughts. The voice that calls through the thick oak is young and respectful, belonging to a page who has come to attend you. This too feels natural, part of the rhythm of life in this place where honor and service are the foundations upon which all else is built. My lord, the voice calls softly. The morning meal is prepared, and Sir Geoffrey requests your presence in the great hall. Sir Geoffrey. The name resonates in your mind, bringing with it images of a tall man with graying hair and kind eyes, a knight of great renown who serves as steward of this castle. He is, you realize, both your mentor and your friend, a man who has guided your training and watched over your development with the care of a father. I come, you reply, and your voice sounds different than you remember, deeper and more assured. It is the voice of someone accustomed to command, yet tempered with the kindness that marks a true knight. As you move toward the door, your hand naturally falls to the place where your sword would hang. The blade is not there now, of course, for one does not wear weapons to break fast in one's own hall. But the gesture speaks to training so ingrained that it has become instinct, and you smile at the rightness of it. Opening the heavy door, you step into the corridor beyond. The hallway is lit by torches in iron sconces, their flames dancing gently in the slight draft that moves through the castle. The stone walls are hung with shields and banners, each one telling the story of some great deed or honoring the memory of a fallen knight. The page who awaits you is perhaps 14 years old, dressed in simple but clean clothing of brown wool. His hair is neatly combed and his face freshly washed, for personal cleanliness is a virtue much emphasized in this place. He bows respectfully as you emerge, and you place a gentle hand on his shoulder in acknowledgement. "Good morning, Thomas," you say, and somehow you know his name without effort. "I trust you slept well?" The boy's face lights up at your kindness. In this world, many nobles barely acknowledge the existence of their servants, but you have been taught that true nobility comes from how one treats those in their care. Thomas is not merely a servant, but a young man learning his place in the world, deserving of respect and gentle guidance. "Very well, my lord. Thank you for asking," Thomas replies. Sir Geoffrey asks that you join him as soon as convenient. There are matters of importance to discuss. Together, you walk through the corridors of the castle, your footsteps echoing softly on the stone floors. Through tall windows, Morning light streams in, creating patterns of gold and shadow on the walls. The castle is coming fully alive now, with servants about their duties and the sounds of normal activity beginning to fill the air. As you walk, you notice details that speak to the careful management of this place. The rushes on the floors are fresh and sweet-smelling, mixed with herbs that help keep insects at bay. The tapestries are clean and well-maintained, their colors bright despite their age. Everything speaks of order and care, the hallmarks of a well-run household. The Great Hall, when you reach it, is a magnificent space that never fails to inspire awe. The ceiling soars high overhead, supported by massive wooden beams that could only have come from the greatest of oak trees. Along the walls hang banners and shields, each one a story of valor and honor. At one end of the hall, a great hearth, large enough for several men to stand in, provides warmth and light. Long tables fill the space, crafted from oak and polished smooth by years of use. The high table, where you will take your place, sits upon a raised platform and is covered with a cloth of fine linen, white as fresh snow, and embroidered with the arms of your house. Sir Geoffrey is already seated at the high table, and he rises as you approach. He is indeed tall, with the bearing of a man who has spent his life in service to ideals greater than himself. His hair is silver at the temples, and his face is marked by smile lines that speak of a naturally cheerful disposition. But his eyes are sharp and intelligent, missing nothing that happens in his domain. Long tables fill the space, crafted from oak and polished smooth by years of use. The high table, where you will take your place, sits upon a raised platform and is covered with a cloth of fine linen, white as fresh snow, and embroidered with the arms of your house. Sir Geoffrey is already seated at the high table, and he rises as you approach. He is indeed tall, with the bearing of a man who has spent his life in service to ideals greater than himself. His hair is silver at the temples, and his face is marked by smile lines that speak of a naturally cheerful disposition. But his eyes are sharp and intelligent, missing nothing that happens in his domain. "Good morning, my young friend," Sir Geoffrey says warmly, extending his hand to clasp yours. "I trust you feel well today?" There is something in his tone that suggests he knows of the strangeness of your awakening, the sense of displacement that still lingers at the edges of your consciousness. But his manner is kind and reassuring, as if to say that all is as it should be. "Very well, Sir Geoffrey," you reply, taking your seat beside him. "The morning is beautiful, and I feel ready for whatever the day may bring." The morning meal, when it is served, is simple but satisfying. Fresh bread, still warm from the ovens, served with butter churned that very morning. Eggs from the castle's own hens, prepared exactly as you like them, though you cannot remember expressing any preference. Honey harvested from hives, tended by Brother Marcus in the monastery beyond the village, its sweetness unmarred by any artificial flavoring. As you eat, Sir Geoffrey speaks of the day's plans. There are tenants who wish to present petitions, their concerns to be heard and addressed, with the justice and compassion expected of a true knight. There are accounts to review, ensuring that the castle's resources are managed wisely and that all who depend on its protection are properly cared for. And this afternoon, Sir Geoffrey says with a smile, I thought you might enjoy a ride through the countryside. The weather is perfect for it, and there are new colts in the village that would benefit from your eye. The prospect fills you with pleasure. To ride through the green countryside on such a beautiful day, to feel the rhythm of a good horse beneath you and the wind in your face, sounds like the perfect way to spend an afternoon. As the meal continues, other members of the household join the conversation. Lady Margaret, Sir Geoffrey's wife, speaks of plans for the harvest festival. Her gentle voice full of excitement for the celebration to come. Father Benedict, the castle chaplain, discusses the progress of the new scriptures he is copying. His eyes as the morning meal draws to a close. You feel a deep sense of contentment settling over you. The strangeness of your awakening has faded, replaced by the comfortable rhythm of life in this place. You belong here, among these good people, in this world where honor and duty are not empty words, but the foundation of daily life. The sun streams through the great windows of the hall, painting everything in golden light. Outside, you can hear the sounds of the castle preparing for the day's work. The ring of the blacksmith's hammer, the laughter of children at play, the gentle conversation of people going about their business in peace and safety. This is your world now, and it is good. The knowledge that you have somehow crossed from one life to another no longer disturbs you. Instead, it fills you with gratitude for this second chance, this opportunity to live a life of meaning and purpose. As you rise from the table, Sir Geoffrey places a fatherly hand on your shoulder. Come, he says softly, let us begin the day's work. There are people depending on us, and that is both our burden and our privilege. Together, you walk toward the solar, the private chamber where the business of the castle is conducted. Through the windows, the morning sun continues to climb the sky, its light promising warmth and beauty for the hours to come. Your life as a knight in medieval England has begun, and you face it with a heart full of hope and hands ready for honest work. The dream has become reality, and reality has never felt more like a blessing. Chapter 2. The Rhythm of Noble Days. The solar chamber where you now find yourself is a room of quiet dignity and purpose. Unlike the grand public spaces of the castle, this chamber is designed for contemplation and careful work. The walls are lined with shelves that hold rolled parchments and bound ledgers, each one documenting some aspect of the castle's business. A large table dominates the center of the room, its surface worn smooth by years of use and covered with charts, letters, and documents that require attention. Sir Geoffrey settles into a chair, upholstered in deep blue wool, its high back carved with the symbols of his house. He gestures for you to take the seat across from him, and as you do, you notice how the morning light falls perfectly across the table, providing excellent illumination for the work ahead. Before we attend to the day's petitioners, Sir Geoffrey begins, his voice carrying the measured tone of a man accustomed to teaching. Let us review the state of our holdings. A knight's first duty is to those who depend upon his protection, and we cannot protect what we do not understand. He unrolls a large parchment map that shows the lands surrounding the castle. The detail is remarkable. Each field and forest, stream and road, carefully drawn in ink that has faded slightly with age, but remains perfectly legible. You lean forward to study it, and somehow the geography seems familiar, as if you have ridden every path and crossed every stream marked upon it. Here, Sir Geoffrey says, pointing to a cluster of small rectangles representing the village, we have 43 families under our direct protection. The harvest has been good this year, praise be to God, and the grain stores should see us comfortably through the winter. His finger traces along the map as he speaks, showing you the mill beside the stream where the grain is ground, the fields where different crops are rotated to maintain the soil's fertility, and the common lands where the villagers' cattle and sheep graze freely. The miller, John Fletcher, reports that the new wheel we had installed last spring is working perfectly. Sir Geoffrey continues, the increased efficiency means that grain can be processed more quickly, leaving more time for other pursuits. His son has shown remarkable skill with accounts, and I believe he would benefit from further education. This attention to the welfare and development of those under his care strikes you as one of Sir Geoffrey's finest qualities. In an age when many nobles view their tenants as little more than sources of revenue, he sees each person as an individual with unique gifts and potential. The soft knock at the door interrupts your study of the maps. Thomas enters carrying a silver tray bearing 2 cups of warm wine spiced with cinnamon and cloves. The aroma that rises from the cups is rich and inviting, promising warmth and comfort for the morning's work. The first of the petitioners has arrived, Sir Geoffrey, Thomas reports with a respectful bow. It is Goodwife Ellen from the village, concerning her boundary dispute with neighbor Samuel. Sir Geoffrey nods thoughtfully. Ah yes, the matter of the apple trees. We shall see her shortly. First, though, let us finish reviewing these grain accounts from the harvest. For the next few minutes, you work together examining columns of figures that document the yield from each field, the portion set aside for seed next spring, the amount owed to the church as tithe, and what remains for the castle's use and the sustenance of its people. The mathematics is straightforward, but the implications are complex, requiring careful balance between present needs and future security. As you work with these numbers, you find yourself understanding not just the arithmetic, but the deeper principles involved. Good stewardship means thinking beyond the immediate moment to consider how today's decisions will affect next year's harvest. It means ensuring that the soil is cared for, that the peasants are neither overtaxed nor allowed to become complacent, and that enough surplus exists to help neighbors in times of difficulty. You have a good mind for these matters, Sir Geoffrey observes as you spot a small discrepancy in one of the accounts. The ability to see patterns in numbers is a gift that serves a knight well, whether in managing an estate or planning a campaign. The mention of campaigns sends a little thrill through you, though you're not sure why. The idea of riding forth on some great quest, of testing your skills against worthy opponents in service of a noble cause. Appeals to something deep in your newly awakened spirit. But such thoughts must wait. For now, there is the practical business of justice to attend to. Sir Geoffrey rolls up the account scrolls and sets them aside, then nods to Thomas to admit the first petitioner. Goodwife Ellen enters with the careful dignity of a woman who knows her own worth, but respects the authority before which she stands. She is perhaps 40 years old, with graying hair neatly covered by a clean white coif, and a dress of good brown wool that speaks of moderate prosperity. Her curtsy is deep and respectful, but her eyes, when she raises them, are direct and honest. "My lords," she begins, her voice clear despite obvious nervousness, "I come before you seeking justice in a matter that has troubled our village for many weeks." Sir Geoffrey leans forward slightly, his manner encouraging. "Speak freely, good Ellen. Your concerns are our concerns." The story that unfolds is typical of rural disputes, but no less important for its mundane nature. Ellen's apple orchard borders on land owned by Samuel the Cooper, and recent heavy rains have shifted the course of the small stream that marks their boundary. Samuel claims that this natural change means several of Ellen's finest apple trees now stand on his land, while Ellen maintains that regardless of where the water flows, the original boundary remains valid. As Ellen speaks, you find yourself studying not just her words, but her manner. There is honesty in her bearing, but also the careful calculation of someone who has thought long and hard about how to present her case. She produces a piece of parchment, worn soft with handling, that shows the original grant of her land from Sir Geoffrey's predecessor. "This document," she says, holding it out with hands that shake slightly with emotion, "clearly states that my boundary runs from the great oak to the standing stone, with no mention of the stream at all." Sir Geoffrey examines the parchment carefully, and you see him note the quality of the script and the authenticity of the seal. This is indeed a genuine document, and its terms seem clear enough. "And what says Samuel to this?" Sir Geoffrey asks gently. Ellen's face clouds slightly. "He claims that boundaries have always followed waterways in this region, my lord, and that written grants cannot supersede natural law. He has enlisted the support of his brother-in-law, who serves as reeve in the next village over." This last detail adds complexity to what might otherwise be a simple matter. The involvement of officials from neighboring areas could suggest either that Samuel has a legitimate case or that he is attempting to intimidate Ellen with borrowed authority. "We shall hear from Samuel this afternoon," Sir Geoffrey decides. "In the meantime, I wish you to know that your service to this manor has always been exemplary, Ellen. Your orchards provide fruit for our table, and your honesty in all dealings has never been questioned." The relief on Ellen's face is obvious, though she maintains her respectful bearing. "Thank you, my lord. I ask only for justice, whatever that may require." After Ellen departs, Sir Geoffrey turns to you with a slight smile. "What think you of this matter?" You consider the question carefully, weighing what you've heard against principles of justice that seem to arise naturally in your mind. "The written grant appears clear," you say slowly, "but the involvement of the other reeve suggests Samuel may believe he has legitimate grounds for his claim. Perhaps it would be wise to examine the land personally before rendering judgment. Sir Geoffrey nods approvingly. Exactly so. Justice cannot be dispensed from a distance, no matter how clear the documents may seem. We shall ride out tomorrow morning to view the disputed boundary with our own eyes. The morning continues with a steady stream of petitioners, each bringing their concerns before Sir Geoffrey's court. A merchant seeks permission to establish a regular market day in the village square. A young man requests leave to marry outside the manor, taking his betrothed as far away as the next county. A farmer reports damage to his crops from what might have been poachers or might have been wild boar. Each case receives careful attention, with Sir Geoffrey asking thoughtful questions and often seeking your opinion on matters of precedent or principle. You find yourself naturally falling into the rhythm of this work, understanding instinctively the delicate balance between authority and compassion that defines good governance. Between petitioners, Sir Geoffrey shares stories that illuminate the history of the region and the principles that guide his decisions. You learn of the great drought 7 years ago, when he opened the castle's grain stores to feed not only his own people, but refugees from less fortunate manors. You hear of the winter when wolves came down from the northern forests, and how the knights of the region worked together to protect both livestock and people. A knight's sword is his symbol, Sir Geoffrey observes during a brief break in the proceedings, but his word is his foundation. People must trust that when we promise protection, we will deliver it, and when we promise justice, we will provide it fairly to rich and poor alike. As the morning session draws to a close, Sir Geoffrey announces that the afternoon will bring different pursuits. The remaining petitioners will be heard tomorrow, giving time for proper consideration of their requests. Today, your weather is too beautiful to waste entirely on indoor work. Come, he says, rising from his chair and stretching muscles that have grown stiff from sitting. Let us take that ride I promised. The countryside is at its finest this time of year, and there are things best learned in the saddle rather than at a desk. The prospect of riding fills you with anticipation. As you leave the solar and walk toward the castle courtyard, you can hear the sounds of preparation already underway. Horses are being saddled, gear checked, and provisions packed for what promises to be a delightful afternoon excursion. In the courtyard, grooms have prepared 2 magnificent destriers for your use. Your mount is a bay stallion with intelligent dark eyes and a coat that gleams like polished copper in the sunlight. Sir Geoffrey's horse is slightly older, a gray gelding whose steady temperament and proven reliability make him the perfect mount for a man who values wisdom over flashy display. As you approach your horse, he turns his great head toward you and whickers softly in greeting. Your hand finds his neck naturally, and you run your fingers through his mane while speaking soft words of acknowledgement. The connection between knight and destrier is sacred in this world, a partnership built on mutual trust and respect. Tempest has been eager for exercise, the head groom reports as he hands you the reins. He's been watching the road for the past hour, as if he knew you would be riding today. You swing up into the saddle, with an ease that surprises you, your body remembering movements you've never practiced in this life. The high-cantled war saddle holds you securely, and the familiar weight of your sword at your side completes the picture of a knight ready for whatever the day might bring. Sir Geoffrey mounts his own horse with the fluid grace of long practice, settling into his seat with evident satisfaction. Shall we visit the new colts first, or would you prefer to ride by the river where the fishing has been particularly good of late? The colts, you decide without hesitation. The prospect of seeing young horses in training appeals to something in your newly awakened spirit. Together you ride out of the castle courtyard and down the winding path that leads to the village below. The day is perfect for riding, with a gentle breeze stirring the leaves of the oak trees that line the road, and puffy white clouds casting moving shadows across the landscape. As you ride, Sir Geoffrey points out details of the countryside that reveal the careful management of the land. Fields are arranged in the three-field system, with one portion lying fallow to restore its fertility. Hedgerows provide boundaries while also serving as habitats for the small game that supplement the peasant's diet. The forests are managed to provide timber, fuel, and hunting, while maintaining the delicate balance that keeps the ecosystem healthy. The village, when you reach it, is a picture of medieval prosperity and contentment. Thatched cottages line the main street, their gardens bright with vegetables and flowers. Children play in the dusty road, their laughter ringing out as they chase a leather ball or engage in elaborate games of their own devising. Adults go about their work with the unhurried efficiency of people secure in their place and purpose. A blacksmith works at his forge, the ring of his hammer on hot iron providing a steady rhythm that speaks of important work being done well. Women tend gardens or work at looms, visible through open doorways, their conversations creating a pleasant murmur that blends with the other sounds of village life. The horse breeding paddocks lie just beyond the village proper, where the land opens into broad meadows perfect for grazing and exercise. Here, several young colts and fillies gambol in the afternoon sun, their coats gleaming with health and their movements speaking of breeding that combines strength, intelligence, and spirit. You and Sir Geoffrey dismount near the paddock fence and lean against the rails to watch the young horses at play. The sight is both beautiful and impressive, these magnificent animals representing months of careful planning and years of selective breeding. That dark colt there, Sir Geoffrey says, pointing to a particularly striking animal, shows promise as a destrier. See how he carries himself, the natural balance in his movements. With proper training, he could serve a knight well in both war and peace. As if hearing the praise, the colt approaches the fence, his ears pricked forward with curiosity. You extend your hand, and after a moment's hesitation, he stretches his neck to sniff your fingers. His breath is warm and sweet, and when you stroke his velvet muzzle, he stands perfectly still, as if enjoying the contact. He likes you, observes the horse master, an elderly man whose weathered face speaks of decades spent working with these noble animals. That one's been particular about who he'll accept attention from. You've got the touch, my lord. The afternoon passes peacefully as you examine the young horses and discuss their training with the horsemaster. Each animal is an individual with its own personality and potential, requiring different approaches and techniques to bring out its best qualities. As the sun begins its descent toward the western hills, you and Sir Geoffrey remount and begin the leisurely ride back to the castle. The light is golden now, casting long shadows across the countryside and painting everything with the warm glow that comes only in the late afternoon. "A good day," Sir Geoffrey comments as you ride, his voice carrying deep satisfaction. Justice served, good work accomplished, and the simple pleasure of time spent among fine horses and good people. A knight could ask for little more. You agree wholeheartedly, feeling a deep contentment settling over you like a warm cloak. The rhythm of the horses' hooves on the packed earth of the road, the gentle evening breeze carrying the scent of ripening grain and wildflowers, the comfortable silence between two men who understand each other well, all combine to create a moment of perfect peace. As the castle comes into view on its hill, its honey-colored stones glowing warmly in the setting sun, you feel a profound sense of gratitude for this life you've been given. The morning's awakening into this world seems like a distant dream now, replaced by the solid reality of meaningful work and genuine companionship. The evening ahead promises its own pleasures. A hearty meal in the great hall, perhaps some music and storytelling afterward. And eventually, the peaceful rest that comes from a day well spent. But more than that, it offers the satisfaction of knowing that you have begun to find your place in this world, to understand the responsibilities and privileges that come with the life of a medieval knight. As you ride through the castle gates and into the courtyard where grooms wait to attend your horses, the last light of day catches the banners flying from the castle towers. They flutter gently in the evening breeze, symbols of honor and heritage that stretch back through generations of knights who have served with courage and integrity. Tomorrow will bring new challenges and new opportunities to serve, but tonight there is peace, and that is enough. Chapter 3. The Call to Adventure. The third day of your new life dawns with a subtle change in the air. A sense of anticipation that stirs through the castle like a gentle wind before a storm. You awaken naturally, without the need for Thomas to rouse you, as if some internal clock has attuned itself to the rhythms of this medieval world. The pre-dawn darkness outside your chamber window holds a quality of waiting, as if the world itself pauses to see what this day will bring. As you dress in the familiar routine that has already become second nature, you notice that Thomas has laid out slightly different garments today. Along with your usual tunic and hose, there is a shirt of fine linen beneath a light hauberk of mail, its links gleaming softly in the candlelight. Your sword belt is present too, suggesting that today's activities may require you to go armed. The Great Hall, when you reach it, buzzes with unusual activity despite the early hour. Sir Geoffrey is already present, deep in conversation with a man you don't recognize, a travel-stained fellow in the garb of a professional messenger, his leather satchel speaking of urgent business from distant places. As you approach the high table, Sir Geoffrey looks up and beckons you to join them. His expression is serious, but not troubled. The look of a man facing important decisions with confidence in his ability to handle them. "Good morning, my young friend," Sir Geoffrey says, rising to clasp your hand. "I'm afraid our peaceful routine is about to be interrupted. This is William of Derby, who brings urgent word from Sir Edmund at Ashford Keep." William bows respectfully, his weathered face showing the effects of hard riding. "My lord," he says, his voice hoarse with fatigue, "I bear greetings from Sir Edmund and a request for assistance. Raiders have been troubling the borderlands near Ashford, striking at isolated farms and disappearing before pursuit can be organized. Sir Geoffrey gestures for all to be seated, and servants quickly bring bread and ale to refresh the weary messenger. As William eats gratefully, he provides more details of the situation that has brought him so far so quickly. "The raiders number perhaps 20 men," William continues between bites of fresh bread. "They strike always at dawn or dusk, taking livestock and grain, but harming no one if they meet no resistance. But 3 days past, they encountered young Robert de Clare leading a merchant train, and when he attempted to stand against them, they unhorsed him and left him for dead." You feel a cold anger stir in your chest at this news. Robert de Clare, the name resonates with memory you shouldn't have, bringing images of a cheerful young knight, barely older than yourself, known for his courtesy and courage. That such a good man should fall victim to these brigands strikes you as an injustice that demands correction. Sir Geoffrey notices your reaction and nods approvingly. "I see you share my feelings about this matter. Sir Edmund requests that we join him with whatever force we can muster. The raiders have grown bold, and only coordinated action by several lords will suffice to end their depredations." The prospect of your first military action grows a mixture of excitement and nervousness. You have trained extensively, though when or where you cannot clearly remember, and you feel confident in your skills with sword and lance. But the reality of facing armed enemies intent on doing you harm is quite different from practice bouts in the castle yard. "What force can we raise?" you ask, surprising yourself with the practical nature of the question. Sir Geoffrey, as plans take shape around the breakfast table, you find yourself naturally involved in the discussions of supplies, routes, and tactics. Your mind seems to work instinctively with these military concepts, understanding the importance of good intelligence, supply lines, and coordinated movement. "We ride at midday," Sir Geoffrey decides. "That gives us time to prepare properly, while still allowing us to reach Ashford before dark tomorrow." William, "You will rest here today and return to Sir Edmund with word of our coming." The morning hours that follow pass in a blur of organized activity. The castle transforms from a place of peaceful routine into a center of military preparation, yet the change happens with the smooth efficiency that speaks of long practice and excellent organization. In the armory, Master Robert the Armorer checks every piece of equipment with the meticulous care of a man whose attention to detail could mean the difference between life and death for those he serves. Your mail hauberk receives particular attention, each link examined for weakness, each rivet tested for soundness. This hauberk served your father well in the Scottish campaigns, Master Robert says as he works. His gnarled fingers surprisingly gentle as they probe for flaws. Good steel, properly maintained, will serve a man's son as faithfully as it served the man himself. The mention of your father brings a curious sensation, as if you should remember more than you do. Yet there is comfort in the thought that you wear armor tested in battle, proven by someone whose blood flows in your veins. Your sword, when Master Robert draws it from its sheath for inspection, gleams like silver water in the morning light. The blade is perfectly straight and sharp as a razor, while the balance is so perfect that it seems to float weightlessly in your hand. The pommel bears the device of your house, a silver hawk with wings spread wide, its eyes set with tiny gems that catch the light. Your grandfather's blade, Master Robert observes with satisfaction, forged by the master smiths of Milan and blessed by the Archbishop himself. It has never failed in righteous battle, and I doubt it will start now. In the stables, the preparations are equally thorough. Tempest stands quietly as the destrier seems to sense the importance of the day, his ears pricked forward with interest and his eyes bright with anticipation. When you approach to speak to him softly, he turns his great head toward you and whickers in greeting, as if to say he's ready for whatever adventure awaits. Other members of the expedition are making their own preparations throughout the castle. Sir Marcus, an older knight with graying hair and scars that speak of many campaigns, oversees the packing of supplies with the methodical care of long experience. Sir William the Younger, barely 20 and eager for his first real campaign, practices sword forms in the courtyard under the watchful eye of the master-at-arms. The men-at-arms who will accompany you are drawn from the castle's garrison, all experienced soldiers who have served with distinction in previous actions. They go about their preparations with the quiet confidence of professionals, checking weapons, adjusting armor, and ensuring that their equipment is in perfect order. As the sun climbs toward its zenith, remember, Sir Geoffrey addresses the assembled company. We ride not for glory or plunder, but to protect the innocent and uphold the peace. Let every man conduct himself with honor, showing mercy to any who surrender, and protecting those who cannot protect themselves. The words resonate through the hall, creating a moment of shared purpose that binds the company together. These are not mere words of ceremony, but principles that will guide your actions in the trials ahead. When the time comes to mount up, the courtyard fills with the controlled chaos of a military departure. Horses stamp and snort, their excitement feeding off the energy of their riders. Last-minute adjustments are made to gear, final messages are delivered, and tearful but proud farewells are exchanged with family members. Lady Margaret appears to wish Sir Geoffrey farewell, her composed exterior barely concealing the worry that any wife feels when her husband rides off to possible danger. But she maintains the dignity expected of a knight's lady, offering her own prayers for success and safe return. As you swing up into Tempest's saddle, you catch sight of young Thomas watching from the doorway of the keep. His face shows a mixture of admiration and envy. admiration for the martial splendor of the departing company, and envy that he is not yet old enough to share in such adventures. You raise your hand in salute to the boy, and he straightens with pride at being so acknowledged. Someday, you realize, he too will ride out on such missions, carrying forward the traditions of honor and service that define the knightly class. The column that forms up in the courtyard is an impressive sight. 8 knights in gleaming mail, their lances bearing colorful pennons that flutter in the breeze. 20 men-at-arms, their equipment clean and well-maintained, their bearing speaking of discipline and experience. Pack horses carry supplies and equipment, while a small baggage train brings up the rear. Sir Geoffrey takes his place at the head of the column, his gray destrier stepping proudly as they prepare to move out. You find yourself positioned near the front, a mark of trust that fills you with both pride and responsibility. "Forward!" Sir Geoffrey calls, and the column begins to move, hoofbeats echoing from the stone walls of the courtyard as you pass beneath the great gate and out onto the road beyond. The journey to Ashford Keep takes you through some of the most beautiful countryside in England. Rolling green hills stretch away on either side of the road, dotted with sheep and cattle that raise their heads to watch the colorful procession pass. Ancient oak trees provide shade and beauty, their branches home to countless birds whose songs create a natural symphony. As you ride, Sir Geoffrey shares intelligence about the raiders and the terrain where you're likely to encounter them. The borderlands near Ashford are wild country, with deep forests and hidden valleys that provide perfect hiding places for those who live outside the law. The key to dealing with such men, Sir Geoffrey explains as your horses maintain an easy pace that eats up the miles, is to deny them the advantages they rely upon. Raiders depend on speed and surprise, striking quickly and disappearing before organized resistance can form. Our task is to force them into open battle where our superior arms and training will tell. You listen carefully to these lessons in military strategy, filing away information that may prove crucial in the days ahead. The principles Sir Geoffrey describes seem to resonate with knowledge you already possess, as if you're being reminded of things learned long ago rather than hearing them for the first time. The afternoon passes pleasantly despite the serious nature of your mission. The weather remains perfect for travel, and the company maintains good spirits through songs and stories shared as you ride. The men-at-arms prove to be excellent companions, their years of service having given them a fund of tales that entertain and instruct. As evening approaches, Sir Geoffrey calls a halt beside a clear stream that provides good water for men and horses. The camp that springs up with practiced efficiency is a model of military organization, with guards posted, horses properly tended, and cooking fires kindled in safe locations. Your first night sleeping under the stars as a medieval knight is an experience you will long remember. Wrapped in warm blankets, with your sword close at hand, you listen to the gentle sounds of the night, the soft conversation of the guards, the contented munching of horses cropping grass, the distant call of an owl hunting in the darkness. Sleep, when it comes, is deep and dreamless, the peaceful rest of a man whose conscience is clear and whose purpose is just. The second day of travel brings you into wilder country as you approach the borderlands. The road becomes less well-maintained, and the settlements grow smaller and more isolated. Here and there, you see signs of the raiders' work: burned barns, trampled fields, and the occasional abandoned homestead where families have fled to safer ground. These sights kindle a cold anger in your heart, strengthening your resolve to see justice done. The people who have suffered these depredations are under your protection, whether they live within your own lands or not. The bonds of feudal obligation extend beyond mere legal boundaries to encompass all who live under the protection of righteous knights. Ashford Keep, when you finally see it rising from a wooded hill in the late afternoon, is an impressive sight. The castle is older than Sir Geoffrey's, built in an earlier style with massive walls and square towers that speak of pure military purpose. But its battlements are well maintained, and colorful banners fly from its towers to welcome your arrival. Sir Edmund meets you in the courtyard, a tall knight in his middle years whose calm demeanor cannot entirely hide the strain of recent weeks. His greeting is warm but brief, for there is urgent business to discuss. "Thank God you've come," he says as you dismount. "The raiders struck again yesterday, not 10 miles from here. This time they killed a shepherd who tried to protect his flock, and they've taken his daughter. The situation grows more desperate by the hour. The news that an innocent maiden has been taken captive adds urgency to your mission. In the code of chivalry that guides your actions, the protection of women and children takes precedence over all other considerations. Have you managed to track them?" Sir Geoffrey asks as grooms lead away the horses. Sir Edmund nods grimly. "My huntsmen followed their trail to the edge of Blackwood Forest, but we dare not pursue with insufficient force. The woods are thick and treacherous, perfect country for ambush." As the evening planning session unfolds in Sir Edmund's hall, you find yourself contributing to the tactical discussions with growing confidence. The combined force now available, nearly 40 men-at-arms and a dozen knights, should be sufficient to deal with 20 raiders, but only if the battle can be fought on favorable terms. The strategy that emerges from the knights' deliberations is both simple and elegant. Rather than blundering into the forest where the raiders hold every advantage, you will use bait to draw them out. A small, apparently vulnerable wagon train will travel the main road while the bulk of your force waits in concealment nearby. "The raiders have grown bold," Sir Edmund observes as the final details are settled. "They will not be able to resist such a tempting target, especially if it appears to be traveling without adequate protection." Your role in tomorrow's action will be to lead the vulnerable wagon train, accompanied by only 2 other knights and a handful of men-at-arms. It is a position of both honor and danger, requiring steady nerves and quick thinking when the trap is sprung. As you prepare for sleep in the chamber Sir Edmund has provided, you feel a mixture of anticipation and calm determination. Tomorrow will bring your first real test as a knight. the moment when all your training and all your noble ideals will face the harsh reality of battle. But you feel ready for that test. The sword at your side has never failed in righteous battle, and the cause you serve is just. Whatever tomorrow may bring, you will face it with courage and honor, trusting in God's protection and your own skill at arms. The last thing you hear before sleep claims you is the sound of the night watch calling the hour, their voices carrying across the castle courtyard like a promise that all is well. Tomorrow will test that promise. But tonight there is peace, and in that peace you find the rest you need for the trials ahead. Chapter 4. The Heart of Honor. The morning of battle dawns gray and misty, with a soft drizzle that turns the world into a watercolor painting of muted greens and browns. You awaken before the horn sounds, your body somehow attuned to the importance of the day ahead. As you don your armor with Thomas's careful assistance, for the young page has insisted on accompanying the expedition to serve you, each piece seems to settle into place with the weight of destiny. The great hall of Ashford Keep buzzes with the quiet intensity of final preparations. Knights and men-at-arms break their fast in relative silence, each man lost in his own thoughts as he prepares mentally for the trial ahead. The food is simple but nourishing: porridge with honey, fresh bread, and small ale to wash it down. Sir Edmund addresses the assembled company one final time, his voice carrying clearly through the hall, despite its measured tone. Remember, the success of our plan depends on discipline and timing. No man moves until the signal is given, no matter what transpires. The maiden's life may depend on our restraint as much as our courage. The reminder of the captive girl adds weight to the morning's proceedings. Her name is Sarah, daughter of the murdered shepherd, and she is but 16 years old. The thought of such innocence in the hands of lawless men strengthens every knight's resolve to see justice done. As the company prepares to move out, Sir Geoffrey draws you aside for a private word. His manner is serious but encouraging, like a father sending his son into the world. "Today you face your first real test of arms," he says quietly. "Remember your training, trust your instincts, and above all, keep your wits about you. A knight's greatest weapon is not his sword, but his judgment." You nod, feeling the weight of his confidence in you. "I will not disappoint you, Sir Geoffrey." "Of that I have no doubt," he replies with a slight smile. "Your father would be proud to see you this day." The mention of your father brings that familiar sensation of reaching for memories just beyond recall. But there is comfort in the thought that you carry forward a legacy of honor. The wagon train that serves as bait for your trap is carefully arranged to appear both valuable and vulnerable. 3 wagons loaded with grain sacks, concealing armed men, are guarded by only yourself, Sir Marcus, and young Sir William, along with 6 men at arms in the plain brown tunics of common soldiers. As you ride out from Ashford Keep, the mist begins to lift, revealing a countryside that seems to hold its breath in anticipation. The road ahead winds through rolling hills covered with the gold and brown of autumn, while dark forests on either side provide perfect concealment for watchers. Tempest moves beneath you with his usual steady grace, but you can sense his alertness to your mood. The great destroyer has been trained for war, and he knows as well as you do that today may bring battle. His ears swivel constantly, alert for any sound that might herald danger. The journey passes in tense quiet, broken only by the creak of wagon wheels and the soft jingle of harness. Sir Marcus, riding beside you, maintains a casual posture that conceals his readiness for instant action. Behind you, the men-at-arms play their roles as common guards, but their hands rest casually near their weapons. The attack, when it comes, unfolds exactly as Sir Edmund predicted. The raiders emerge from the forest on both sides of the road simultaneously, their wild war cries echoing across the countryside as they charge toward what they believe is easy prey. There are indeed about 20 of them, mounted on rough ponies and armed with a mixture of stolen weapons. Their leader, a bearded giant on a black horse, waves a great two-handed sword as he spurs toward your small company. "Now!" you shout, and the careful deception falls away like a discarded cloak. The grain sacks in the wagons are thrown aside to reveal men-at-arms with crossbows, while you and your fellow knights level your lances and charge to meet the raiders' advance. The moment of impact comes with shocking suddenness. Your lance takes the first raider square in the chest, punching through his leather armor and lifting him from his saddle. The shock of the collision jars through your arm, but Tempest's momentum carries you forward into the melee beyond. All around you, the carefully laid plans dissolve into the chaos that marks all battles. Steel rings on steel as swords meet in deadly earnest, while the air fills with shouts of anger and pain. The crossbow bolts from the wagons thin the raiders' ranks, but those who remain fight with the desperation of men who know they face death or the hangman's rope. Your sword seems to move of its own accord, guided by training so deeply ingrained that conscious thought is unnecessary. The blade flows in the patterns you have practiced countless times, parrying attacks and striking back with lethal precision. The raider chief, seeing his ambush turned against him, spurs directly toward you with his great sword raised high. The black horse beneath him foams at the mouth as he drives it forward, and the giant's eyes burn with a fury that speaks of desperation and impending doom. Your destroyer meets the charge without flinching, and the two great horses collide with an impact that shakes the ground. The chief's sword whistles down in a blow that would split you from crown to crotch, but your blade is there to meet it, turning the strike aside in a shower of sparks. For a moment, the two of you are locked together, horse pressed against horse, each striving for the advantage that will mean life or death. The chief is strong, his muscles hardened by years of violence and hard living, but you have the better weapon and the superior training. Your counterstrike comes as smoothly as flowing water, your grandfather's blade sliding past the chief's guard to find the gap where his mail shirt meets his coif. The steel penetrates cleanly, and the light goes out of his eyes as he topples from his saddle to lie still in the muddy road. With their leader fallen, the remaining raiders lose heart for the fight. Some throw down their weapons and cry for mercy, while others attempt to flee back toward the forest. But Sir Geoffrey's main force has closed the trap, emerging from concealment to block all escape routes. The battle, which seemed to last for hours in the heat of combat, has actually taken less than 10 minutes. When the last sword falls silent and the last cry fades away, 8 raiders lie dead and 11 more kneel in the mud with their hands bound behind their backs. But there is no time for celebration, for the captive maiden has not been found among the raiders' possessions. Sir Edmund's huntsman, examining the prisoners with the skilled eye of a man who knows how to read guilt and innocence, quickly identifies the one most likely to know her whereabouts. The man is young, barely older than yourself, with the lean build of someone accustomed to living rough. But his eyes hold a hint of conscience that suggests he may not be lost beyond redemption. "The girl," Sir Geoffrey says quietly, his voice carrying a promise of either mercy or retribution, depending on the answer. "Where is she?" The young raider looks around at his dead and captured companions, then back at the ring of knights surrounding him. Whatever he sees in their faces convinces him that honesty is his only hope. "In the old hermitage," he whispers, "deep in Blackwood, where the ancient road crosses the stream. She is unharmed, my lords. We meant no dishonor, only to hold her for ransom." Sir Edmund knows the place the prisoner describes, and within minutes, a rescue party is organized. You volunteer immediately for this mission, driven by the knightly obligation to protect the innocent that burns like a flame in your chest. The ride through Blackwood Forest is like entering another world. Ancient trees tower overhead, their branches so thick they block most of the sky, while the forest floor is carpeted with leaves that have fallen for generations. The old road the prisoner described is barely visible, more a deer path than anything made by human hands. The hermitage, when you finally reach it, proves to be a small stone building that might once have housed a holy man, but has long since been abandoned to the forest. Moss covers its walls, and ivy climbs through the gaps where mortar has crumbled away. From within comes the sound of quiet sobbing, confirming that Sarah is indeed imprisoned here. But approaching the building requires care, for one of the raiders has been left to guard the captive, and he may choose to harm her rather than face capture. The rescue unfolds with the same careful planning that marked the morning's battle. While Sir Edmund and his men surround the hermitage, you approach openly, calling out in a voice pitched to carry authority rather than threat. "You within," you shout. "Your companions are dead or captured, and you are alone. Surrender now, and you will be treated with the mercy due to one who yields honorably." There is silence for a long moment, then the sound of movement within the ruined building. The door, hanging askew on rusted hinges, creaks open to reveal a man of middle years, his face marked by desperation and fear. "I have the girl," he calls back, his voice shaking. "Any move against me, and she dies." "Look around you," you say gently, dismounting from Tempest and approaching slowly with your hands spread to show you hold no weapon. "Your friends are gone, your leader is dead, and these woods are full of armed men. but the girl is innocent of any wrong. Release her, and I give you my word as a knight that you will live to see another dawn." The standoff stretches for what feels like hours, but is probably only minutes. Then, from within the hermitage, comes a young woman's voice, clear and brave despite her circumstances. "Please, sir," Sarah says to her captor, "these knights speak truly. I have heard no cruelty in their voices, only justice. Release me, and perhaps God will show you the same mercy you show me." It is the girl's own courage that breaks the impasse. The raider's shoulders slump in defeat, and the sword falls from nerveless fingers to clatter on the stone floor. Sarah emerges into the gray afternoon light, dirty and frightened, but unharmed, and the sight of her fills you with a fierce joy. The journey back to Ashford Keep passes in a glow of satisfaction and relief. Sarah rides behind one of Sir Edmund's knights, her rescuer rather than her captor now, while the last prisoner walks behind the horses with his hands bound but his life intact. The greeting that awaits you at the castle is everything a knight could wish for. Word of your success has preceded you, and the courtyard fills with cheering people as your small procession passes beneath the gates. Sir Edmund's lady wife takes charge of Sarah immediately, whisking her away for the care and comfort she needs after her ordeal. That evening, the great hall of Ashford Keep hosts a feast to celebrate the successful conclusion of the mission. The tables groan under the weight of good food and drink, while minstrels provide music that speaks of heroic deeds and noble victories. But for you, the greatest pleasure comes not from the praise and congratulations, but from the quiet satisfaction of duty well done. You have faced your first real test as a knight and emerged with honor intact. The sword you carry has proven itself in righteous battle, and the code you serve has been upheld. As the evening progresses, Sir Geoffrey draws you aside for a private conversation in a quiet alcove overlooking the castle gardens. The older knight's expression is one of deep satisfaction and pride. "You have done well this day," he says simply. "Not just in the fighting, though your skill at arms did you credit, but in the manner of your conduct throughout. You showed mercy to the fallen, courage in the face of danger, and wisdom in the rescue of the maiden. Your father could not have asked for a better heir to his legacy." The words warm you more than any amount of wine could, for they come from a man whose opinion you value above all others. You have proven yourself worthy of the trust placed in you, worthy of the armor you wear and the sword you carry. "There will be other tests," Sir Geoffrey continues, his voice growing thoughtful. "The life of a knight is one of constant challenge, constant choices between the easy path and the right one. But today has shown that you understand what it means to serve something greater than yourself." As the feast draws to a close and the castle settles into the peaceful rhythm of evening, you find yourself standing once again at a window, looking out over the moonlit countryside. But tonight, the view holds no mystery, no sense of displacement. You know exactly where you are and who you are. You are a knight of medieval England, sworn to protect the innocent and uphold justice. You have proven yourself in battle and shown mercy to the defeated. The morning's gray uncertainty has given way to the clear light of purpose and achievement. The room, when you return to it, is warm and comfortable, the bed soft and inviting after the day's exertions. As you remove your armor with Thomas's help, each piece seems lighter than before, as if success has lifted some invisible burden from your shoulders. "My lord," Thomas says as he carefully stows your sword, "will there be other adventures like today's?" You consider the question as you settle into the comfortable bed. "I expect there will be, Thomas. A knight's duty never truly ends, for there will always be those who need protection and wrongs that need righting." The young page nods solemnly, his eyes bright with dreams of the day when he too might ride out on such missions. "I hope I may serve you well in all of them." "My lord." "I'm sure you will, Thomas. I'm sure you will." As sleep approaches, you listen to the peaceful sounds of the castle settling for the night. Somewhere, a guard calls the hour in a voice that carries comfort rather than alarm. In the stables, the horses stamp and whimper softly in their stalls, content after a day that tested them as surely as it tested their riders. The last sound you hear is the gentle rain that has begun to fall outside your window, washing the countryside clean and preparing it for whatever tomorrow may bring. It is the sound of peace, of justice served, and honor upheld. Your life as a medieval knight has truly begun, and it is everything you could have hoped for and more. The strange awakening of 3 days ago seems like a distant dream now, replaced by the solid reality of purpose and belonging. As sleep finally claims you, your last conscious thought is one of profound gratitude for the chance to live a life of meaning, to serve a cause greater than yourself, and to know that when tomorrow's sun rises, it will shine on a world made a little safer by your actions. The rain continues to fall gently outside, a lullaby that carries you into dreams filled with honor, courage, and the quiet satisfaction of a knight who has found his true calling. In this world of medieval England, surrounded by good companions and noble purpose, you have found not just a new life, but a better one. And in the morning, when the sun breaks through the clouds to paint the countryside in gold and green, you will rise ready for whatever adventures await a knight whose heart is pure and whose cause is just. The gentle rhythm of the rain on stone grows softer and softer, until it blends seamlessly with the deeper rhythms of sleep, carrying you into the peaceful rest that comes only to those who have lived their day with honor and faced their trials with courage. Your medieval awakening is complete, and in that completion there is perfect peace. The end.